Hi, I'm Margaret and welcome to Garden School. Well, I have volunteered to start some seedlings, some vegetable seedlings for the plant sale that my Master Gardener group is going to have in May. And now is the time for me to start the seeds that I've been given. I've also been provided with planting medium, seed starting medium, which is different from soil, and the trays and the labels. And what I need to do is do the work, put them on heat mats and provide light, and then get them to be sell ready when it comes time for our sale. Well, I wanted to have you walk through this with me, and I'm going to start from the very beginning looking at the planting medium, the seed starting medium. So this is the seed starting medium, and you can see this is quite dry, so that's how it was just, stored. It's not as heavy to move around when it's dry, and it's sterile. And you can see these white flecks here. That looks like that's vermiculite or expanded rock of some sort, and that is it helps to provide space. It helps to retain moisture, and it also keeps the medium light in weight. Now, oxygen is really important for those little seedling roots, and that's why we want to have enough space in our medium. You'll also notice that it's pretty crumbly and pretty fibrous. Now, seed starting medium typically was made, one of the components was peat moss. Now, I believe that this is coconut coir. It could be a mix. I don't know for sure. Coconut coir is a more sustainable product to use than peat moss, although peat moss is often preferred by growers for its qualities for holding so much moisture and having a slightly acid or quite an acid pH, which can inhibit some bacteria and perhaps some fungal growth. Now, here is the moistened medium, and you can see it's darker in color, and it will hold together when I squeeze it, but it's not dripping water. We don't want it to be that wet. So now I've got my medium moistened, and I'm going to fill my seed starting trays. So I've got one of my trays filled, and as I was doing that, I was noticing that, I was encountering some, sizable pieces of bark. So apparently that's one of the components, ground bark, for this mix. So as I'm doing that, I'm going to remove those larger pieces that might just interfere with a tiny little seed that's trying hard to germinate. So we'll just discard those. Now I'm doing several trays for my my gardening group, and an easy way to just press this medium down a little bit into the cells so that you have a spot then to plant your seed and to cover it. I'm going to use this set of cells here and just line it up and just press it in, because you can see the bottom is just like that. You could use an individual one if you don't have a whole unit that's connected together. Now I can tell that I have some empty spaces underneath. Let's take a look. Yeah, this part down here, I'll fill that up a little bit more, maybe a little bit too high here. We'll just move it in over there. And when we get that set, and they're nice and even, not too much soil in there, seed starting medium, then we will be ready to get our seeds. There's another big stick. We'll discard that. Okay, I got a little bit more work to do on this. Well, I've got my cells prepared with the seed starting medium in them, and it's pressed down a little bit. A little indentation is at the top because after I plant, well, I'm going to be planting 4 varieties of kale for the plant sale. Those seeds will need to be covered 1/4 to 1/2 inch with some soil. Sorry, medium. We'll get it right. So that's why that indentation is there. Now I've got to also label each one of these. These are like 6 little 6-packs. I'm gonna have to make labels for each one of those because that's how they're gonna be sold. And I'm gonna put the variety, the what it is, like kale, and then the variety. And I think I've got some really cool varieties that I haven't tried yet. Well, anyway, it should be fun to grow them. So I've got some label writing to do. Then we'll come back and we'll put the seeds in and cover them, and then talk about the next thing, which is going to be a heat mat for germination and then watering. So we're ready to start planting the kale seeds into the prepared trays. Now you can see these are really small seeds. I'm going to try to just place 2 in each cell. And that way, if we don't get some germination from one of them, there will hopefully be another one. And I think that the germination percentage should be very, very high on these. But that's what I'm going to try and do now. I just put 2 seeds into each cell in each 6-pack. Well, I've got the seeds into tray number 1. And yes, there are 2, possibly even 3 seeds in each little cell. But I'm doing this for my plant sale, so I don't want to have any empty spots in the 6-packs. That's why I've done that. And then when we get multiple seeds that have germinated in there, we're going to remove them. And probably the best way to do, the safest way to do that is just to snip it off right at the soil level or right above the soil level. If we pull it, the roots might be disturbing. The roots we pull may disturb the ones that remain. So now we need to cover with a little more of our seed starting medium. And this pack I think wants to be covered about, between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. I'll do the best I can in this, just sprinkling it on and then patting it down so that it's nice and even. So there we go, I filled up my trays, I seeded, and then I covered the seeds. And I will say that if you are going to plant in a cell pack like this, just make sure you're not filling up too full. I did, and I had to kind of remove a little bit of the medium before I could have enough room then to plant my seeds and to cover them the appropriate depth. Now I've made tags, and for this particular purpose I made a tag for each cell pack. But it's nice to identify your things. Just keeps you on track. So here's our setup. We've got our 6-packs in here with the seeds in them, and then they're sitting in a tray that is, there's 2 trays. The bottom one is a solid tray, and then this first one here has holes in it. So it's a great carrying tray that will be good for future when they get out to the greenhouse and get to hardening off. But we have the bottom one on here that's solid, and that's going to be a great way for watering, to water from underneath, and so we don't have any leakage as well. Now I've set the trays on heat mats, and there we go, and to give the medium there some extra temperature that will secure or ensure better germination for us. Now, one other thing you might want to do is, if you notice that your medium is getting a little bit dry on the surface as you were planting, just do a spritz on the top to get that top surface where you were planting the seeds a little bit more moisture. Then there we go. So we've got the setup going here. The trays are on heat mats now, and they are going to be holding these germinating seeds. That's going to be great. Now, lighting is something that we're going to need to talk about, but we'll do that as we get some germination going on here, because that's when the plants will need some supplemental light. Well, I hope you enjoyed walking through this with me to do my seed starting of kale. That's what I'm doing. And it would be pretty much the same for all in the brassica family. The seeds are really tiny. So it's pretty easy to overseed, but you know what, that's okay. You can just remove those extra seedlings that volunteer to grow if you choose. Well, thank you for joining me. There's always more to learn in the garden. Bye-bye.